Night of the Living Dead is a 1968 horror film directed by George A. Romero and starring Dwayne Jones and Judith Odea, as a ragtag group of Pennsylvanians barricade themselves into an old farmhouse to remain safe from a horde of flesh-eating ghouls that are ravaging the east coast of the United States. Criterion presents this film with a native 4K restoration. What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. And today, guys, we are going to be talking about Night of the Living Dead on 4K, one of the latest releases from the Criterion collection, and I am super excited to get into talking about this one. I wasn't sure if I was going to get this because I did get the regular Blu-ray version back in 2018, this Criterion Digipack, which I freaking love. This is actually, I believe, maybe one of my first two Criterion releases that I ever added to the collection. So, and I did it because this artwork is freaking amazing. But yeah, we're gonna talk about the movie. We're gonna talk about Night of the Living Dead. We're gonna talk about this 4K restoration. We're gonna talk about how it compares to this Blu-ray that came out in 2018. We're gonna talk about packaging, all the good. We're gonna talk about everything that has to do with this Night of the Living Dead 4K release. I'm excited to do it. Before we get into it, guys, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't already, we talk about movies and physical media and just owning the movies that you love, Blu-ray 4K reviews. I do unboxings, I do collection hauls, live streams with other collectors, just all kinds of stuff that has to do with the world of physical media. So if you like that kind of stuff, definitely consider hitting the subscribe button. Also, be sure to like this video and comment down below, guys, what's your thoughts on Night of the Living Dead? Did you purchase this latest Criterion 4K release? Let me know in that comment section below, and then turn on those bell notifications. So let's get into, first off, talking about this movie. Of course, this is directed by George A. Romero. I'm pretty sure this is George A. Romero's first film, but I could be wrong in that. Maybe he did some short films before then. I'm almost sure that he did. It's definitely a groundbreaking film for the horror genre. It practically invented the modern zombie movie as we know it. I mean, you had zombies in other films, I believe, before this, but this kind of brought it to the mainstream, I would say, and just kind of set the tone and made the template for how you would construct a zombie movie going forward after this movie. It all started with Night of the Living Dead back in 1968. So yeah, I watched this. Like I said, I watched it back in 2018 when I got this Criterion release. And it was a tough watch for me because I recognized its greatness. I recognized that it was a classic, that it did start all of these, what would go on to be tropes of the zombie horror genre. I recognized that, but the movie was extremely slow for me, and I don't know, it just didn't click for me the first time I watched it. But what I will say is, doing the rewatch last night, I actually got done watching this last night, I actually really enjoyed it, like a lot more than I did the first time. And I don't know, I was like, what was I thinking? Like, this movie's not slow at all. Like, it picks right up right from the beginning. It does not mess around at all. You got Barbara and her brother in the graveyard. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. You got Barbara and her brother in the graveyard. They're like setting flowers on their dad's grave or their grandpa's grave, or again, I can't remember exactly who. They're in the graveyard, and then all of a sudden they hear a little. This is a part I really love about the film, is how you get all of this exposition from like the radio and the television broadcasts and stuff. So you hear the radio start to flicker up, and then he just turns it off, and then they go out to the gravestone, and then, you know, you see the guy walking off in the distance. It really is kind of creepy, so it does set that tone right away, but you get right into it. Like, first 5 minutes, the zombie attacks her brother, and then she's on the run. She finds the farmhouse. She runs into Dwayne Jones's character of Ben, and they're kind of holed up in this farmhouse. They meet other characters, and it's really just a fight for survival at that point. But there's just all kinds of like, there's very little like down periods in this movie once you start going. Like, there's some interactions and stuff between the characters in the house, but most of the time they're trying to keep the zombies out. They're trying to keep them from breaking in. So they're like boarding up windows, they're fighting them off, you know, they're going outside, they're trying to figure out how to get out of there. And there's just all kinds of like action and carnage and like some really gruesome scenes, I imagine, for the time as well. So yeah, I don't know what I was thinking the first time I watched this, but I ended up enjoying this a lot more. Probably significantly more. I think it's just my taste over the past few years. I've just watched more classic films, learned to appreciate films for what they are, especially in the time period that they were made. I just feel like my film tastes are a little bit more refined now than they were about 4 or 5 years ago, if that makes any sense. But Yeah, again, not slow anymore. It actually feels kind of epic, especially when you get to the end. Like the final 20 minutes of this movie are like crazy. Balls to the wall, just like zombie hordes coming to the house and everything. And again, this was on a low budget, but I imagine, you know, George A. Romero just got a bunch of people that he knew. And I imagine most of these zombies probably didn't get paid. And if they did, they didn't get paid very much. But yeah, just tons of zombies at the end. It's really kind of epic and grand feeling. So direction is fantastic. Some of the shots are incredible. Like right in the beginning, like when her brother's getting attacked and you see Barbara, like all of these, like, I don't know, like from the ground up. I'm not a filmmaker. I'm not a cinematographer. I don't know how you explain all this stuff, but cinematography is incredible. Like I know really cool shots when I see them. And there's a shot of like Barbara like hugging the grave and it's like kind of angled up at her. It's an iconic shot. Like I've seen it other places before, but just such a cool shot. There's several shots just like from the ground up from the characters. And it just adds like a really cool aesthetic. Just really adds to that dread, really adds to that terror that all of our characters are feeling throughout the film. Characters are well written and you actually care about everybody, and I like how they all have different temperaments throughout the film. Like they're all trying to, some of them are like Barbara is pretty much comatose like the entire film. Like she'll come out every now and then and start crying, but she's petrified, scared of this stuff, and that's set up perfectly in the beginning. That's a part of her character. She's kind of like a scaredy cat. Her brother, that's why her brother's messing with her in the beginning. So you know, she's petrified, and then other characters are like real, like just trying to fight for survival, and they're like, they don't care who they have to trample or who they have to screw over to survive. They'll do that. And then you got Dwayne, who's kind of more like the heroic character of the movie. There are some very strong social themes in this movie. Like Romero, again, you wouldn't think like just a movie about zombies attacking people in a house would insert all of this social commentary, but it really was a commentary on just how America at the time during the civil rights movement was kind of tearing itself apart. So that's kind of you know, the idea for this movie, just zombies, like people like eating themselves, cannibalizing themselves. So definitely a really smart comment. I don't think a lot of people give the horror genre credit for just all of the you know, strong social commentaries that they insert in their films, and made even more impactful because Romero cast a black lead for this movie. Like Dwayne Jones is the lead of this film. Like I wouldn't even argue that. The effects and the gore are really top notch in this movie. Some of the zombies look better than others. I don't know why, but when I remember watching this 4 years ago, I just remember like ordinary people with like dirt all over their face. There's actually some pretty cool makeup effects work that's done in this movie for sure. It's just that some of the zombies don't, in particular the first zombie that they encounter in the graveyard doesn't really look a whole lot different from just a regular guy with like a snarling look on his face. So, but some of the actual effects works really awesome. Like when they're picking apart the people that burned alive in that truck and you just see them like eating the guts, and you can hear it too, just like the wetness of like eating, like it really is disgusting. So they did some great job with the effects work and gore here. And I love how, again, I love how you're provided all this outside exposition. Like they're watching all these like news reports and stuff throughout the movie. And I just think it adds so much you know, to the overall story, because you're getting all these snippets of what's happening, and they actually explain the zombies, which a lot of films and TV shows and stuff don't really bother to do. I definitely appreciated this so much more this time around than I did 4 years ago. So you guys will probably be happy to know that I am a big fan of Night of the Living Dead now. So I probably, just for its classicness, its iconic status, I would probably give this movie a 4.5 out of 5. I think it's a great, groundbreaking horror film in the 60s. So let's get into the actual transfer of this movie. I know you didn't come here to just hear me talk about the movie. You want to know how this looks on 4K. Well, again, I will say this 2018 Blu-ray right here, this came out, I think, in February of 2018. It was a new 4K digital restoration, and it was supervised by the late, great George A. Romero right before he passed away, I would imagine, and co-screenwriter John A. Russo, as well as a sound engineer, Gary R. Striner. So this was a 4K digital restoration that was done before. The only thing that they did here was put this on a 4K disc, because this was a 4K scan on a Blu-ray disc, and now it is on an actual 4K disc. So you do get that higher resolution. You do get better clarity as far as the picture quality in this edition. But again, what I will say is that if you do own this Blu-ray, this is a really nice transfer. I actually popped in the Blu-ray just to compare it. It's a really nice, really clean, crisp 4K Blu-ray transfer. But this does add quite a bit of depth to it. This definitely ups the clarity. Like, there are scenes in that Blu-ray that is a little blurry, a little fuzzy. This really cleans up the picture. This really looked excellent. And you really do just get so much more depth in this picture for sure. And it's the close-ups on the faces. Like I said, like what 4K can do with the, you know, the facial detail, just showing you every single pore, every single bead of sweat on somebody's faces, and in some cases the blood on people's faces. It really is incredible. So I will say that this 4K does look better than the Blu-ray, but it's just kind of, you know, up to you as to whether or not, you know, you want to make that upgrade to 4K. It is a better picture quality, but this is also really excellent as well. Now, getting into the audio and sound, this does have a remastered and restored monaural soundtrack supervised by Romero and sound engineer as well, and it is uncompressed. So I thought that the sound was great. Like, from the second I popped in this disc, like from the title screen, just the reverberations from the actual score itself was really fantastic. Like, the score in this movie, I don't think I mentioned it in the actual review, but the score is fantastic in this film. There's just some really powerful moments in that score, just some really grandiose moments in that score, and it sounds great. But then it gets into like this just like real low, like real bassy sound, like in particular, like the later half of the film, when they're out there, and it just feels like it's crashing into you, and just the reverberations from my subwoofer, like all of that sounded excellent. Also with like the thunder crashing in the beginning, like there's a storm coming, so you hear a lot of thunder, a lot of rumbling, and all that stuff sounded fantastic. And you know, there's some stuff inside the house, like when people are talking, like it does sound a little far away, like the mic isn't completely hooked up to the characters, but they really couldn't do anything with that. That's just the way that the movie was made. There's definitely some moments where the characters speaking sound better than others. Some of them sound very, very far away. Some of them sound like they have the mic right up to them. So the sound does vary throughout, but that just adds to the overall you know, feel of the film, I would say. The blood drips, the zombies eating stuff, like I said, like they just sounded so wet, and you could just hear every bit of it. So yeah, but yeah, the blood dripping like from the ceiling at one point, you could hear it on the ground. It just all added to the effect, and it sounded extra disgusting coming through the sound bar and everything. So I couldn't say, you know, the sound is great. Sound is fantastic. I don't have any, you know, complaints about the sound for sure. But getting into the packaging, so this is, I don't know if this is going to be controversial for people or not. I imagine it probably will be, but again, there's a lot of people that like these original Criterion cases, and they don't like the Digipacks. There's people like me that just like the Digipacks and don't like these cases. So it is kind of, I don't know. I like it personally because I already bought this release. I already had this packaging. So I like that they did different packaging for Night of the Living Dead, because I already had this. But if you never picked this up and you wanted to get the 4K and you wanted this packaging as well, you're not going to get it. So I'm 50-50 on it. I'm happy with it personally, but I can understand some people being upset that didn't get this Digipack back in the day, that wanted it with the 4K, and now you're not going to get it. I think the best thing they could have done was just maybe gave you the option to get it. But yeah, the packaging, again, just the standard Criterion case right here. I'll show you the back. This is a 3-disc set, so you do get the 4K. You get both the audio commentaries on the 4K. You get the Blu-ray with both the audio commentaries, and then you get the additional Blu-ray with all the special features on that disc as well. And then you get some nice artwork that I believe is the same artwork on the inside of this release. I believe it's the exact same artwork as this on the interior of this case. So again, and I don't know. Again, I'm kind of conflicted on it. I wish they would have done the Digipack, or at least gave you the option for people that weren't able to get this, because this is an incredible Digipack. Again, this practically sold me on the Criterion collection. Like, this is why I started collecting for Criterion, was because of this release right here. But yeah, packaging good. Again, basic Criterion packaging, but still solid, especially if you like that sort of thing. This is spine number 909 as well. Don't know if I mentioned that, but again, uses the same number as this from back in the day when it came out back in 2018. Getting into the extras, this is all the same special features that were on the previous Criterion release. You do get both those audio commentaries. You get all the additional special features on that bonus disc. So nothing has changed as far as the special features. You get the exact same stuff on this release as you did in the previous Blu-ray release. So getting into it, guys, at the end of the day, will I recommend this? Should I recommend this? I think that I do, because like I said, the picture quality is significantly better, I would say, than the Blu-ray, even though the Blu-ray really looked good as well. And again, it is a 4K scan on a Blu-ray. It looks fantastic, but just they add so much more into the 4K in terms of depth and just overall clarity. Like there's some images, there's some scenes on the Blu-ray that's not the clearest. You can kind of see like a little fogginess, especially some of those outdoor scenes, especially at night. Like the night scenes on the 4K really look fantastic. So I do say that the 4K is a improvement over the Blu-ray. It's just whether or not that seems like it's worth it to you, because that's the only difference between this set. Like, yeah, you have different packaging, but you have all the same special features. And again, it is a 4K digital restoration. It's the exact same 4K digital restoration. It's just on the 4K. But what I will say is the Criterion sale is coming up, and you'll be able to get this for 25 bucks. So it's definitely an easier recommendation if you don't already have this. But if you do already have this, it still makes it a little bit harder for me to completely 100% recommend this release, because I do think the Blu-ray is a really fantastic release as well. So take that for what you will, guys. I will link it down below in the description if you want to purchase it based on my recommendation. Thank you all so much for watching my review of the Night of the Living Dead, or Night of the Living Dead, not the Night of the Living Dead, Night of the Living Dead on 4K. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the like button, comment down below your thoughts on this movie and this 4K release. Turn on those bell notifications and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.